Welcome to Hustle and Flow with Heather Hubbard, episode number 45. Hi, I'm Heather Hubbard, and I was a litigator, partner, and practice group leader at an AmLaw 200 firm. I know what it takes to rise to the top. I also know all too well the toll it can take on your personal life. So how do you shine bright without burning out? How do you embrace your ambition without selling your soul? You're listening to the Hustle and Flow podcast. Hello and welcome back. I am your host, Heather Hubbard. Thank you so much for joining me this week. As a heads up, I am hosting my 2018 Life and Law Plan workshop tomorrow. So depending on when you're listening to this, it may be a little late, but I am hosting a workshop on December 20th. It is an all-day workshop to help you outline your plan for 2018. Now, if you listen afterwards, it still may be okay. There's still maybe time if you want to join us. You probably can't join us live, but there will be a replay available until January 10th. So if you are listening and it's past December 20th, but it's before January 10th, you can still get access to the video and the templates as well as the bonus planner if you, again, sign up. Get access to that video before January 10th. If you would like more information on that, you can go to heatherjoyhubbard.com/2018 plan. That will also be in the show notes. Okay, today we are talking about partnership traps. And I struggled with whether or not to even record this episode because I kind of tackled this topic back in June, about 6 months ago, related to the topic, what got you here will not get you there. So I was outlining this topic. It's come up a lot lately. And as I was looking at it, I kind of felt like I had presented on this before. And so right before I hit record, I thought, I'm going to look back and see if I've already done a podcast episode on this. And I found in June that I did What Got You Here Won't Get You There. And so I quickly listened through that episode again. And some of this I did touch upon, but in a different way. So I thought, one, if this issue keeps coming up over and over again, then either people have not heard that episode or they need to hear it again in a different way. I definitely am someone, I can hear something maybe 5, 10, 15 times, and it doesn't always sink in. Sometimes I need to hear it over and over again, and then sometimes I hear it in a new way, and I'm like, oh, now I get it. So if you're super familiar with that episode, this one's probably going to feel a little familiar to you as well. Otherwise, this may be brand new. Maybe you've not gone back and binge listened to all of the episodes. So I have 5 areas that I want to talk about today, 5 traps that partners can find themselves in. And they're not just for junior partners. They can happen for more senior partners as well. I think I shared the results from the NAL survey, although really that wasn't from the survey. I went to the National Association of Women Lawyers Meeting the Challenge program in Boston in September. And that's when they presented on the survey, but it was really the anecdotal conversations that took place about what I'm thinking about right now. And I think that was episode number 34, where everybody started sharing that where they're starting to see women struggle and exit out is generally around year 5, where women are thinking they don't even want to make partner. Year 10, right after they make partner. And then again, about at retirement age, but it's an early retirement. So women in their 50s are starting to leave as well, and their male counterparts are staying. And so there was a lot of discussion around, well, why is this happening? And for me, I think these traps are part of the problem. It's much bigger than that. And I'm super opinionated on this stuff. I have lots of episodes on it. Mostly, the episode Don't Blame It on the Kids, I think, which was episode number 2. But these are 5 traps that are going to show up over and over again. So if you're an associate, I think it's important to kind of know what's coming. If you are a junior partner, you're probably definitely feeling this right now. But it could also be where you're at the end of or you're more in the middle or end, however you want to look at it, of your career, and you're starting to fall into these traps again. And sometimes it can become so frustrating that you'd just rather leave than, keep banging your head against a wall. So I think this is relevant for everyone. And, it's not going to be as relevant for in-house and governmental attorneys or even some small law firms, although it's pretty universal. That said, I always try to listen to find out what could I learn? How could this apply? Okay, so let's just jump right in. The top 5 partnership traps. Okay, number 1, not having enough hours. So unfortunately, we are still on this billable model. I don't like it, and a lot of clients don't like it. Firms say they don't like it, but no one's really budging on it. Some people are coming up with creative ideas, but at the end of the day, most firms have some kind of billable requirement for associates and partners, and it does not promote, it does not encourage efficiency or what's best for the client. It's all about how many hours are you billing. But that's where we are, so you have to focus on it if you want to be successful within the model. So, when you're an associate, it's generally easy to get work. As long as you're doing good work and you are pretty accessible and helpful, partners will seek you out. And clients like having associates that do good work staffed on their matters because it's cheaper for them. Once you become a partner, it's harder to get your hours in, because other partners don't want you working on their cases, either because they don't get as much credit or they see you as a threat. So suddenly you are not billing the hours that you need to be. And this can happen even if you are a rainmaker. So some firms, they don't care how much money you bring in. They still have that minimum billable hour. And when you have your performance review or your comp meeting, or just in general, you can be bringing in a ton of money and they're still going to tell you that you need to be working more hours, which can be really frustrating if you think that you're bringing a lot to the table and the firm simply, they don't acknowledge or recognize that, right? So this isn't just for junior lawyers that are getting cut off when they become partners. It's also for well-established partners that see themselves more as rainmakers as opposed to the people doing the work. But if your firm has a minimum hourly requirement and you're not hitting it, you're always going to feel like you're trying to explain yourself. You're always going to feel like you're having to over-prepare for the conversation as to why you're valuable, even though you're not meeting those numbers. And I think to some extent, we need to be working on advocating to change the model, but law firms are very slow to change. I don't think the billable hour or the requirements for hours, I don't think they're going anywhere. So the better approach is to make sure that you have enough. So, that's number 1, not having enough hours. And oftentimes, I think that it's hard when you become a partner, especially if you've been doing it for a while, to ask to work on other people's matters. It can be a blow to the ego. We may not like all of our partners, so maybe we don't even want to ask if we can be staffed on their cases, right? We're like, I would rather have low hours than work with that person. And, I think this is especially true for senior partners. It's kind of like Hollywood. There's this age when you are in your prime. And once, even if you've been an amazing attorney and had a great book of business, the older you get, you might start to lose some of that to younger people. And so how do you get staffed again, especially when your hourly rate is probably crazy high? And so that's trap number 1 that you just want to be on the lookout for to make sure that you're kind of always okay is, do you have enough billable hours? And, this can happen for people that are in their prime as well, especially if you're a litigator and you rely on those really big cases. When one goes away, you're sitting there without any work to do. And then you're like, oh my gosh, am I going to have enough hours for the year? So just be sure to pay attention to that. That needs to be kind of in your monthly review of, are you getting enough hours and how are you going to get them? And to the extent that you don't want to ask to work on others' matters, to the extent that, that hurts your ego, I highly encourage you to work through those issues and know that there is nothing wrong with asking to be staffed on other matters. There is nothing wrong with recognizing that our roles change and that, maybe next month or next year, you're going to have a big matter and someone's going to ask the same of you. So give yourself a little grace, but pay attention to this. Do not get into the trap of not having enough hours because, if it happens enough, either you're going to be asked to leave or you're going to leave on your own because you're going to feel like a failure, even though you're not. So that is trap number 1. Okay, trap number 2, getting stuck in a service partner role. Now, if you want to be a service partner, then there's absolutely no problem with that. But most partners don't want to be service partners, mostly because they feel like they're doing all of the work and they're being taken advantage of. So if that's the role you want and you don't have a bad attitude towards it, then that's fine. And keep in mind that the way that law firms are going, especially the bigger law firms, there's not always a place for service partners. So if you want that, you need to make sure, be crystal clear that your firm is going to continue to support that model. People are focused so much on profit per partner these days and laterals that it's harder and harder to truly excel or be seen as valuable in that service partner role. Doesn't mean I agree with it. I strongly disagree with it, but that's where firms are. Okay. Once you get in that service partner role, it's hard to get out because you're generally so busy. If you're a great service partner, that means that the partner that's giving you work does not see you as a threat, and they're probably not sharing credit with you. So basically, they're going to keep your plate full. The only way that you're going to be able to get out of that is to start saying no to work that's being offered to you. And that can be really, really hard. So if you're wanting to continue to climb the corporate ladder, if you're wanting more autonomy, if you want to be in control and in charge of your schedule and your teams and your matters, you really have to be intentional about moving into a true partnership role, an equity role, not a service partner role. And I get that some firms are not 2 tiers. They're all equity. But that said, you can still be an equity service partner versus a true equity rainmaker partner. And you're still compensated differently. You're treated differently. So it still applies. And the reason why people get stuck in this service partner role is because they're focused probably on the number 1 trap, which is not having enough hours. This is part of why it can be so frustrating once you become a partner. And, a lot of people make partner and leave shortly thereafter. And even leaving at the 10-year mark, it shocks a lot of people. They're like, why would you leave once you become partner? But in many ways, it's more predictable to be an associate. And it can become really frustrating to be able to balance all of this. It creates a lot of stress and anxiety. So when you're worried about not having enough hours, you tend to get stuck in that service partner role. So the only way that you're going to be able to hit your hours, but also not be seen as a service partner, is to split your focus on doing work and business development. So if you don't have enough hours and you're just like, well, I'm not going to work for other attorneys, I'm going to focus all of my efforts on business development. I hope you have a good track record because it takes time to develop business. We were talking 2 weeks ago with the Q&A on career strategies. In the same way that it takes longer than you probably think to change jobs, it also takes longer than you think to develop business. So just be careful with that, because the firm is probably going to see you as not working very hard. That said, to the extent you want to move into a role where you are in charge, you have to work on business development. And when you are just working on hours and you're in that service partner role, there's generally no time left to focus on business development. And that's where you have to take control of your career. And you have to take control of your schedule by saying, I'm going to focus on both. I'm going to hit my hours, but I'm also going to focus on business development. And so what that probably means is you need to figure out what are the hours you're hitting. And I would look for what are the minimum hours and focus on that. And again, you need to be tracking and looking at it monthly. And if you are going to overshoot that number, then unless you just have a ton of time on your hands, and most people don't, that means you're never going to have time to do business development. So you're going to have to start pulling back on working for others. And I would very closely monitor that so that you have enough time to do business development. So I would go ahead and pick, here are how many hours I'm going to work, on getting my hours. And here's how many hours I'm going to devote to business development, and then stick to it. This is going to require you to stand up for yourself. May not be easy, but I would rather you work through that discomfort and stay and be successful at your firm as opposed to ignoring the situation, never getting out of your comfort zone, staying stuck in that service partner role, and then eventually leaving because you're burnt out. Okay? So you're doing everyone a favor by working your leadership muscles and learning to say no and taking control of your schedule. All right. Partnership trap number 3. Not asking for credit. Oh, I'm probably making some people sweat. I'm asking you to do things that are hard. Yeah, it is not easy being a partner. So many of us think that once you make partner, it's super easy, and it's not. You're asked to do even harder and harder things. And oftentimes you're not even asked to do it, but you need to do it if you're going to thrive and be happy. So let's talk about that. It would be really nice if law firms were true partnerships where everybody had each other's interests at heart. When you think of a company that's a partnership and there are partners that are owners, they consult each other on everything, or they have specific roles, but they have the same goals in mind and they're working together. Does that sound like a law firm to you? Maybe a really small one. And this is true for accountants and other professional partnerships. You're legally partners, but oftentimes you're competitors within, and your goals may be very different. Your strategies may be very different. And because it's each man for himself and you're all trying to get the biggest piece of the pie, people don't play nice. You might get stabbed in the back. You can't trust everybody, and politics 100% exist in firms. So, it can be really frustrating. And a lot of attorneys, especially women, don't want to ask for credit, because they don't want to be seen as pushy or aggressive or assertive, right? Like, you're not liked when you do those things. And so we tend to shy away from that. And it's a really uncomfortable conversation. Despite lawyers making a lot of money and wanting to make a lot of money, they're not very good about talking about it. As soon as you start talking about credit and money, people get really anxious. But if you don't have those conversations, people are not going to look out for you. Now, there are always exceptions to the rule. Maybe you work with people that you never have to ask for anything and they just take care of you. But what I learned was that the people that came in and asked for credit, the people that came in and asked for certain compensation, were far more likely to get it than those that didn't. And I also noticed that the people that did not ever ask for credit, and the people that never asked for what they needed or wanted in comp meetings and just assumed that people would have their best interests in mind and take care of them, got really bitter. Because here's the thing. No one's going to take care of you the way you can take care of you. You have to ask for what you need and want. That is your responsibility. It is no one else's responsibility. It would be wonderful if everyone worked together and had each other's back. But even the nicest person is not going to put your interests above their own. So you just got to step up. But this is a huge partnership trap, because you may be doing a lot of work for a partner, like another rainmaker, and, you might be a huge part of their plan, of their team. And if you're not ever asking for credit, again, you're going to get stuck in that service partner role. And other people in the firm may be in the exact same situation, but they're getting credit. That may be less about the rainmaker and more about the attorneys involved. You have to ask for it. Now, if you ask for it and it makes the senior partner upset and it makes them mad, I'm just going to go ahead and say, I wouldn't want to work for that person. I mean, you're getting a really, really clear signal as to what they think of you and how they value you. Obviously, they just see you as a means to an end, which is money in their pocket. And that may sound harsh, but you want to stay away from those people. And it's better to know how they truly feel than to always be working under them and not knowing, right? So if you know, like, just get away. Stop working with those people. What you'll find, though, is a lot of people are happy to give you credit if you have the conversation. Now, don't be bratty about it. Don't be aggressive about it. You can easily do it by just getting into the habit of having conversations very early on. So when someone asks, if you'll come into a case, or if they're asking for you to be on a pitch team or whatever else, you can, in a very neutral, nonchalant way, ask, that sounds great. How are we dealing with credit on this matter? And if that takes them aback, and again, they're like, because we create these stories in our head as to what's going to happen. Generally, the stories that we create, they never happen that way because lawyers are non-confrontational. They're not going to freak out the way you think they will. And if they do, and they don't let you be on the case, fine. If they let you have the credit, but they're resentful and bitter, fine. That's their problem. If they then don't ask you to work on a matter again, fine, right? Like, none of it really matters because you're still going to end up with the same result anyway. But if you start getting into the habit of asking for credit, that will help. And keep in mind that when you bring matters in and you ask people to work on it that are other partners, and you're asking them to work on it because you see the value that they bring to the table, when they come, even if they don't ask about what's going on with credit, you should say, here's what I'm thinking of for credit. Because the more that you exhibit what good conversations around credit look like, you will find that when you give credit to others, they're more likely to reciprocate. And they're going to think of you when they have matters. So just get in the habit of doing that. And if you're always offering it, it won't make you feel awkward when you start to ask for it as well. So you've got to ask for credit. And again, if you're a senior attorney and you're thinking, oh, but I'm thankful that they're even letting me be on the case and giving me the hours. Look, it's important to not fall into any of these traps. So you are valued. And yes, you want the hours. You don't want to be in a service partner role, but you also want to get the credit that you are due. And you've got to ask for it. Okay, partnership trap number 4, not developing your own book of business. Okay, some people, maybe they're trying and it's not working. Other people aren't even trying. What I find happens, most partners, they're not business people. They didn't go to business school. They don't understand marketing. A lot of the marketing training that you maybe have received was not that great. And, a lot of attorneys don't like asking for sales. It feels bad to them. It might feel shady or slimy. And you're just like, I hate marketing. I hate sales. I don't want to do that. I just want to be a good attorney. Okay. If that's the case and you're okay with that service partner role and your firm supports that, then just go do that. But if you truly want to excel as a partner, and most do, most just get better that they have to be in that service partner role, I want you to take ownership of developing business. And I don't want you to be scattered. Please stop going to all of the networking events that you're going to. Please stop going to all of the organizational lunches. Please stop going to coffee here and there. I mean, planting a ton of seeds, casting a wide net without any kind of strategy is only going to work if you're an amazing people person. And if that's the case, then you love sales and marketing. Like, you were a natural born marketer. You were definitely selling Girl Scout cookies when you were little, and you were, I don't know what Boy Scouts sell. Popcorn. But that never made you nervous. You were just a people person and you're happy to go out and ask for business. And if that's the case, if that's how you are, you're already developing business. If you're struggling, then I hate to be the bearer of bad news. You don't shine in that area if you're just doing random networking. People aren't going to just meet you and have coffee a few times and then give you work. You've got to be really intentional about it. And I've said this a million times, but you cannot look at the people above you. What worked for them is not what's going to work for you. The legal industry has changed. If you work for the type of partner or team that's going to let you inherit that book of business, if there's a succession plan in place, great. Congratulations. If you are a woman or minority, good luck with that. Those are generally dedicated to white men. And not all white men have that opportunity either. So you're going to have to do something a bit different. And there are a million different ways to develop a book of business, and it totally is dependent on, one, your strengths, your talents, what you feel comfortable with, what you're willing to be uncomfortable with. You're going to have to get outside your comfort zone, but you got to decide on the front end how far you're going to push yourself. And then you really need to map out a strategy. You've got to figure out, are you doing this on your own? Are you doing it with a team? What does that credit look like? Who are you going after? What kind of matters are you going after? You can network, you can do lunches and coffees, but you need to know exactly who you're doing that with and why. And you need to know what your plan is. Like, how are you going to actually ask for the business? Are you just showing up for these coffees and you're just being friends? Or are you making that ask? If you're doing presentations, do you have a follow-up plan? If you look at any business, if you look at their marketing and sales departments, and they're two different things, it is very sophisticated, but it's pretty simple. There are some general rules that apply no matter what. So if you're struggling with business development, I highly encourage you to just start reading sales books and marketing books. Fair warning, they can feel a bit sleazy. But just know that you can do it in your own authentic way. And if this is something where you're really stuck and you're really struggling, just know that this is something that I love doing for other people, and I'm pretty good at it. So not to toot my own horn, but it's part of my zone of genius. So if you're struggling there and you just need help on what you should be doing, I do offer a deep dive day. You come spend a day with me and we figure out what is your business development plan. And it is completely mapped out. There is nothing left to guess or figure out. We do all of it there. Any research that needs to be done, it's going to get done there. We map it out and you are just executing. So if you've ever said, I just wish someone would tell me what to do and I would do it, come spend a day with me and we will get you set up. You can find out more about that on my website, heatherjoyhubbard.com. Okay, so that is trap number 4, not developing business or the mindset around it, right? I mean, I see a lot of attorneys, especially as they get older, and the current clients that they had, they tend to go away because either the general counsel retires. That's generally what happens. And then they don't remember how to develop business, or the environment has changed so much that they're like, I can't develop business in this area. A lot of it's mindset. So keep an open mind. Know that you can always develop a book of business, whether you are a junior partner or you are a senior partner and you think you're past your prime. It is a trap to say that you can't do it. You can. All right. Partnership trap number 5, the last one. And this one's going to be pretty quick. Not knowing the rules or the politics of the firm. Now, you may not like the rules. You may not like the politics. You may say, I don't do that. But look, you're a partner in a firm, so that's what you signed up for. If you don't like that, you should go somewhere where there are no rules or politics, which, by the way, the only thing I could think of would be your own solo firm. Every other place is going to have that. So this starts at the very beginning. A lot of partners don't even know how they're going to get paid. They don't know their rights and liabilities. And then when you go from income partner to equity partner, same thing. You don't always know how you're getting paid. What are the rights and liabilities? Some firms, you remain an employee. Other firms, you're going to get a K-2 and you've got to pay for your own taxes. And you're going to hear rumors of, oh, you're not going to make as much. Well, it's actually very dependent on your situation. And your accountant can tell you, don't listen to what other people say because their situation may be different. I know when I made partner in my firm, I made more money, but I did have partners that came in through the same class that were making less money. A lot of that depends on insurance, how many kids you've got, other things like that. But, sometimes you make partner and you make less money, and that then makes you really mad. Just know that on the front end. And most people still choose to make less money. They want that role and that title, but just be aware of it. You may not like it, but just make sure that you know what it is. Similarly, are you signing a partnership agreement or asking for it without even knowing what it means, right? What are the rights? What are the liabilities? Know that stuff. But you also want to know just how are decisions made? How does the process work? And you may know that there's a board of directors, or, you may know technically what the org chart looks like, but how does it really work? Get educated. And that involves having really good mentors that are going to give you access to that information. Knowing the rules, especially the unwritten rules, knowing the politics, that's going to be super important to you figuring out how to navigate sticky situations and, figuring out how you're going to ask for that credit, how you're going to get enough hours, how you're not going to get stuck as a service partner, and read what's available. So many of my clients ask me questions related to, can I do this as a partner? And I'm like, well, what does your partnership agreement say? And they're like, I don't know. And I'm like, well, might be on the intranet. You might even have like an employee handbook on the intranet, but we don't ever look at those things. So just be aware. And then my very last piece of advice is you really want to build relationships, not just with attorneys, but with the administration. And some of your administration, they might be attorneys, but many are not. And just know that admin, they are super involved. They know what's going on. They're part of the decision-making process. And if you can have go-to people that you like and they like you, they will give you access to so much information that you need that's going to really help you go a really long way. And so if you just kind of like try to stay in your office and lay low, fly under the radar, and you don't have those great contacts within administration, you're going to feel stuck and alone and, not know what's going on. And, these are the 5 traps that I think this is why people leave. They get so frustrated. They feel like failures. They can't figure it out. And I don't want anyone to ever be in that place or to feel that way. So just know that these are the traps. Keep an eye on them. Pay attention to them on a regular basis. And before you know it, you're probably going to have a thriving practice where you don't feel down in the dumps, but rather you are really a shining star. So those are the 5 partnership traps. I'll just go through them quickly again. Number 1, not having enough hours. Number 2, getting stuck in a service partner role. Number 3, not asking for credit. Number 4, not developing business. And number 5, not knowing the rules or the politics of your firm. So that's it for the partnership traps. Again, if you are ready to outline what you're doing for 2018 and you would like some support, there is still time for you to either attend the 2018 Life and Law Plan Workshop live on December 20th or watch the replay through January 10th. And you can go to heatherjoyhubbard.com/2018 plan to get more details. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you have a wonderful holiday season. For show notes, downloads, and other free resources, and to keep the conversation going, head on over to hustleandflowpodcast.com. See you there.